That's not including your like video that you put up yesterday, which is our best one.
I'm just sending that text because I forgot to send it. So don't. Yeah, that wasn't bad. I mean, dude, there's. I didn't. Here's the deal. I didn't want that music at the beginning that I put in it, but I already
Yeah.
had that music clip, so I had no choice. I mean, I didn't have time. I had 10 times the content I wanted to add. I wanted to make it flow smoother. I have more Bible verses, but I mean, I was busy working and stuff had to get done because I didn't
Yeah.
know, I didn't know if I could work today, so I needed to get stuff back to the customer.
I'm surprised you
And
did it all, man, because
oh
you were
man, dude, you wouldn't believe what it was like. I was under pressure, dude. But I had way, and I still, what I want to do, I just want to get a new video out for us. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And so, as long as, I mean, I'm at work now, so as long as I'm able to continue to come in, what I'll do is hopefully by the end of this week or next week, really add to this video. I'll take
Yeah.
that down and put the new one up.
So this is my question, right? So you know how sometimes people will have stuff they need to get fixed, right? But they'll just put it off a little bit. Is this like one of those times where like everybody's bringing their stuff in because they got time to deal with it?
Actually, no. I mean, I'm getting the ones where people have issues and now they're forced to work at home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I get it.
yeah, because what's happens is like tax time, I go through a little lull, but then you added this on top of it for like the last week or so. Business was really sporadic. But now, like Friday, yesterday, and today and tomorrow that I got stuff planned is like busy. So I just want to get as much done as I can while I can still work.
And that video was good, like professional, man. I mean, it's
You
better than because you know who I think does good videos like that is Jeremiah Cohen, and I
or
think yours was just as good, if not maybe even better, because
you know
it put everything in it all together. You know,
you know who's really good at videos though, just cool wise, is Nicholson 1968.
He's
He's
phenomenal.
a
He's
genius.
oh he's got to be some kind of professional in some way.
I know, right? He's good.
But what's crazy about him, this is what I like about him, is he sounds all country, right?
I
So
know.
like sometimes he'll say stuff that like he's even mispronouncing. So you're like, oh well, he must have just learned about that too. But like, man, God must have been talking to him because he's talking in depth about something he could barely understand, or barely
Right,
say. And you're like, wow, this guy's special, man.
right.
Because like you could tell that everything he's saying is right on, and you're like,
Dude,
man, maybe
the
because one thing he did bring up, right, was there was like he was editing a no, not editing discussing a video, like pointing out all the details and stuff, right, which he's so
yeah,
good at. And he goes, see this picture here where there's like three Pee Wee Hermans right there, and then there's two women with their hair like long, like not put up or whatever. It looks long and kind of wild or whatever. And he's like, this is the fallen angels with their hair would attract the angels, and those Pee Wee Hermans are at Mount Hermon. I'm like, what the? I'm like, how did you get that out of that? Right? It all lines up. I'm like, what? He goes. This is how you know the Holy Spirit is talking to me. I'm like, what?
have you talked to him personally ever?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
And it's weird because like I try to like I'm not trying to be famous, but I at least want some of these little famous guys to know me, you know what I mean?
I know,
And
because I mean they're huge. I remember when I first started listening to Nick years ago already. I always pictured him with like long, shaggy, blonde hair, a surfboard in one hand, a bass rod in the other, and a big chew in his mouth. You know what I'm saying? From
yeah,
Georgia, and he's as neat cut as you can. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. Is what you
yeah.
expect someone to look like and what they look like is yeah, it could be off.
But
But
his material is just. I mean, the first time I watched one of his videos, it wasn't so much how awesome the video was, but the content he had in it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know, it blew me away. And then, of course, how he can actually put stuff together is just, I mean, it's top, it's, top notch. I mean, in the world, how
True.
he does stuff.
Details, you know?
But hey, anyways, okay, I got
Yeah.
to talk to you, but that's why I wanted to, before I forget and sent you that last night. So for many years, I got a brother that lives in Florida, okay? He lived in Alaska for like 20 years and worked for the state police. And now him and his wife are down in Florida, like probably 5, 6, 7 years ago or so, something like that, okay? So every time I try to send him anything or talk to him about anything, I mean, I get the most stupid responses and answers back and just blind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm just for really, Steve, for 5, 6 years, I'm just in awe, thinking there's no way he's this stupid. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's just no way you can be this dumb on purpose. You can't be. And I remember, I sent him that video a few weeks back about Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that, at 100,000 feet, that shit is
Yeah.
flat. He came straight back. I mean, straight back. Um, oh, that's a nice dub job. Like someone dubbed over his voice, you
Oh
know.
my.
But, you can see where Neil deGrasse has said that several times. So I'm like, what the heck? So yesterday, I sent him our video, okay? The one I put up. Here's what he sends back. Pretty stupid video. Now, he doesn't know I made this, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, because Obama jokes about being afraid of his wife when he says when she's mad, not a man. Then the horrible dubbing of Megan Fox. Then the female comedian says Michelle Obama is transgender, talking about Joan Rivers. The all-seeing eye means what? Question mark. Was what early Christians used for God watching over humanity. The
Yeah.
horizon dude is lost. So I said, no, he calls her Michael. Many times he made that mistake, bro. And now I'm sitting there thinking, like, how can he come back with, I mean, it's just asinine. So I'm like, I sent him a text, are you a Mason? Because it just dawned on me, he's got to be a Mason. And he
Right.
comes back, a free one at that.
Uh.
And haven't heard from him since. And I will not uh, text him again or talk unless God leads me to.
And is this somebody close to you, or you said
It's my brother.
your brother?
Yeah, it's my brother.
Got to be heartbreaking, man.
It was. Because, I mean, all this time I thought he was a Christian.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, there was this video up that it said like everything you need to know about Masons or whatever. I forget what the
Yep.
title of it was, but I went on there, right, and it's like obviously a video from the Masons, right? That like like it like like it like totally underdoes everything. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's not that bad, and oh, there's many Christians, and oh, that those are just rumors, and just it totally, it's like wow, a Mason put this out, right?
Right.
Obvious, right? And so like I go man, this is obviously disinformation, right? And there's this guy that, the owner of the channel or whatever. He's like acting like he's some kind of guy that's like there for the questions, for anybody. And he
Yeah.
does like, give out a lot of time, right? Like he's very gracious with his time, to be honest, and he's polite, right? And so he's obviously lying, but he's like so I go, well, I believe in, Jesus Christ, and that's the only way. I said, they're not my rules. I mean, this is not just I want you to believe what I believe. believe. I'm just saying this is it. This is the objective truth, you know. And he goes, well, many Masons would agree with you, you know. And I said, well, I feel real sorry for the people that don't, you know. And and I was trying to, go along with him, right? And he said, well, you know, this beautiful country has freedom of religion and whatever, you know. And I said, well, good luck with that, you know. And
Right.
I wish you well, and you're entitled to have your live your fantasy if you want. I mean, God gave you God-given free will. The reason you could do what you're doing is because of Him, and so I respect that. But if you want to go to heaven, you're off, man, right? And then this other lady started getting into him, right? And he's trying to tell her what biblical terms mean, and she goes, "Don't talk to me, Buster. I study Torah, you know." And so I was like, "Oh, I like this lady," and I was like, "Hey, sub to our channel, you know." And she goes, "Hey, Facebook me," you know. And so I Facebooked her, you know, and
Yeah.
she's a nice old lady, you know, but like she was an old Jewish lady, right? That like saw the light, you know,
Right.
and like she's ethnically Jewish, but she's a Christian now, so they call them I think they call them like Messianic Jews or something. But I'm like, hey, well, good for you, or
When did
whatever.
this all happen?
This was oh, I don't know, I can't tell you when.
Within the
The
past
channel
year?
called my comments are on there.
But no, what I guess what I'm getting at is
Maybe a week ago.
okay, because what I'm getting at, maybe she'd like to come on, because I'd love to ask her
Yeah,
some stuff, like especially about that, if that one scripture, and I think it was Revelation 6:6, where the angels are told not to hurt the wine in the oil.
yeah, that.
I
Yeah.
want to see if someone. I want to see if maybe if she understands that. I mean, I know I think I got a good understanding of it now, but it just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's legit. You know what I'm saying?
What bothers me is I've been getting good people that want to come on, right?
Yeah.
And then when it's time to come on, right? I don't, then I don't hear nothing. I don't even get a message or anything. And and I'm wondering, like, I'm trying not to drop the ball, like I gave out my email to, oh, wait, I just got an email back. Oh, that's from Bible Literalist. She's very grateful with her time too, and
Yeah.
she has her, everyone has their beliefs, and there's only really one true belief. But anyway, so I mean, we got to be on some kind of list, though, don't you think? Right?
Heck
Like,
yeah, man. Since way before 9/11, Holmes, I was on the list.
oh yeah, this is
No
man.
lie, man.
Well, unless a lot of people start getting sick, man, like I'm gonna be very like I'm treating this like it's the end of the world and Antichrist is next, you
Yeah, me
know.
too. Yeah.
But and when I sent you that video about the vaccinations, right? That one where that guy was talking, the he was given a briefing, and he was talking about the VMAT2 gene that's like usually overly expressed in people that are fanatical, right?
Right.
People that are church fanaticals. And so what he was saying was his intention is to shrink that gene, right? To alter that gene in people by releasing a flu like virus, right? And so although his intention, right, might be okay, the fanatical person that would, create some kind of harm for people or whatever, or do some kind of attack or something. You want to shrink it in those people. Although that's what he said his intent is. The idea that they can shrink your God gene, or what makes you connected more to God in religious texts, you know,
But the
it's
thing is,
scary.
what you got to look at, Steve, is what made that person that fanatical like that. You're not born that way. No one's going to tell me you're born gay or born this or born that. It's because of the environment you were raised up in or the war they sent you to go kill people for them so that they can bankroll their own personal yachts and stuff or whatever. No one's created bad, and no one's going to change my mind on that. I mean, other than when God raises people up for specific occasions, the typical person like Any friends or relatives or people you served with, people you know at the VA that are really messed up, they weren't born like that. The situations they've been put in throughout their life has turned them into the person they are, through vaccinations, medications, and so forth. You know,
You think
so
they could alter it though?
what's that?
Do you think that they could alter it though?
Yes, I do. Yes, but what, and that's the start. Because I mean, then it's not just for that person; it's for everybody. If they can alter that person to a zombie, what do you think they
Right.
want to do with those who are awake and have arms?
Right. So that
So,
was my point when I sent that video.
right? No,
So
I get you.
that's a scary deal. That's a scary deal. They are using that on us. That was in 2012. I
Right?
mean, this might be it, you know?
Absolutely.
And
I don't
when
know.
I saw my hot water yesterday, it was like super milky, right? Out of coming out
What?
of my tube. Yes, and then but the crazy part is so I put a cup of it like on the sink or whatever, and then when it got cold, like back to cold again or room temperature, it was clear, right? And then when I poured a cup of cold water, it was clear, you know. But then I sent it to like my most awake friend besides you and Chris, and she was like, "And so, you know what I mean? Like it was no big deal, you know." And so I'm like, they probably think I'm crazy now because I've sent a couple of things in a row that were like, I was pretty excited about, and I'm speculating more now than I have ever been before, but
Yeah.
but like, yeah, I mean, it that scares me, man, when something is different than the way it was before, like,
And it
you know
wasn't
what I
just
mean?
air causing that, because I've seen it do that before, but I don't know what. I always just assumed it was air causing it for some reason.
But listen to this, I couldn't even see through it, man.
Oh
I
my
couldn't
gosh.
do it. Yes, that's what I'm saying, right? And so of course I didn't drink none, right? And like I'm like surviving right now on like I think I had like two like sugar-free sodas, right? But I don't even like drinking that because after a while of just drinking water and I of course I filter it in my thing, but I'm even afraid to filter this stuff,
Right. Oh,
But
absolutely.
like I'm like, is it possible that is it possible that they would release some kind of crap like that, on people that
You
are
They'll release it to the entire population, man, because they know what to drink, what not to drink. They know what vaccines, what to take and what not to take. I mean, you got to figure, Steve, for these elite. I mean, and you're talking. I mean, there's thousands of them, right? I mean, they just got to have more than 10 people because you got to survive. I mean, they have underground cities for these people are going to be moving to when they release, the big stuff.
they could
This
be there by the shutdown.
lots of them are. Lots of them are, yes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's something in the back of my mind that tells me we're not coming out of this. The only thing that makes me think we may come out of this is just some other uh, gematria numbers, prophecy numbers, stuff like that, to where there may be some years left here yet. But I mean, that's just me wondering or thinking, not knowing. It's not like I say, no, 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 this has to happen. We got 5 more years till, at least. I can't say that. I mean, this we may not be able to leave our homes ever again real soon.
Yeah, it's
I'm not sure. I mean, it may pass, but this time I don't know, Steve. I have
well,
no clue.
like I always kind of like okay, since I felt like I fully woke up, like it felt like there was gonna be like 5 to maybe 10 years left at the most, But then like the longer I've been going through it, I'm like, man, I would be surprised if there was like 2 years left,
Hmm.
And and at the very most, these are just my feelings, right? I don't think it's going to go beyond maybe 8 years, like
Right. And it doesn't even have to go that far, right?
I don't even think it will, man. To be honest,
And yeah, and the only reason I say 2028 is I've heard that number for many,
Really,
many, many years. It's not like it just come up in, recently. That number, there's something prophetic about 2028. Doesn't mean it has to be real or it has to be a date.
well, do you remember that show? that sitcom 227?
No.
That always pops up in my mind, 227, right? And so I always think that it's going to be like, around then 2027, 2028. But it's been my feelings. I don't want to put this out like I know
Right. Yep.
2028 is the date. That's what's been sticking to my heart for the last like maybe 6 months or so. So I'm on point with what you're saying. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no, I mean, I've heard that date. I've heard 2035. I mean, I think that's like one of the latest dates I've ever heard in the past 20 years would have been that
Mhm.
2035, something like that.
Yeah.
It may even be 2036, but I think it was 2035 that really pops in my head. You figure if 7 year tribulation starts 2028, 35 would be the 7 year mark. And I'm just spitballing too here. It's not, don't have anyone
I'm
ask me for a
too
citation or a Bible scripture because there isn't one. You know what I mean?
really believe that if things don't start matching up in my head of this reaction to this sickness, like that it's gonna be in a couple weeks, man. Like the I mean, the Antichrist is coming, because
Yeah.
someone's gonna need to save the world from this financial destruction. They're popping it on purpose.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that because there's restaurant owners and business owners and people that have non-essential jobs that are not wealthy, right? They're crushing those people. And whenever you crush someone in a state where they have to make a decision for survival, that's just a perfect time for someone to come save the world and make you make a choice on something like the mark.
Yeah, I mean, and they're crushing the entire world. I mean, this is so huge. Most people can't even conceive of how big this is. And even though I know that and can see it, I can't conceptualize it to put it to words of just how big of an event and how biblical of an event this is right now. I mean, the whole world is basically shut down, and what's not shut down yet is probably going to be real soon.
I wish I can explain this feeling and it's not just a feeling, but I have a lot of things that add up that make me believe this. But I'd have to make them believe all those things first too. And I
Right.
wish that I wish that I could at least tell my kids and my immediate family, that hey, I really think this is coming to the end, and I really want you to trust me. And if I'm wrong, it's like it's no harm. But I don't think I am, and it's. I mean, we're really coming to the end of it.
And that's where I have credibility with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, it's just over the last, 20 some years, people know, you know, a lot of what I believe in and things. I mean, which people would consider just flat out wacky, but I've never fear mongered or, no fear porn ever, never took anything to the extreme other than trying to awaken somebody. So when I tell them everyone now who you know, how I feel about this and how different this is, I mean, most listen. The ones who haven't, of course, they were done through text messages. If I could have talked on the phone, maybe their eyes would have opened. I know a sister of mine, we had a talk about this stuff like 2 weeks ago, and yesterday we were talking again, and she's like, I'm so thankful we talked. She goes, I would never, ever have had anything prepared. So, at least she's like, had gone and they got now food to live if they can't leave their home because they're in Michigan. They've been locked down, but she can still work. Um, they have food to last quite a while now, where 2 weeks ago she wouldn't have been able to make it probably a few days to a week. So,
Well,
I mean, that's the difference between never putting fear porn out there just because of you know, of something you've seen or heard, you know. So thankfully, over the last 20 some years of them hearing stuff I've said, I've never put fear other than just spoke the truth and left it at that.
right. Well, one,
So
one thing that I need to get myself to understand is when I start seeing these things happening, right, like these big things, like what's going on right now, I to me, I start feeling peace, right? Because I'm like, wow, it's all this confirmation that God is there. And it just makes me more and more confirmation that about God always makes me feel better, right? But I need to remember that when I say, "Hey, look, there's going to be the end of the world and all this," that freaks people out, right? And I
Right.
need to understand they're not feeling what I'm feeling. Maybe they do feel fear because I have another friend, right? He's so smart, man, and he sees exactly what I'm seeing, but he's a nervous wreck all the time. Like he take a break from the internet for like 6 months.
You know,
You
um,
it is funny, but I feel for him too because
yeah,
he just can't take it. And I'm like,
and
I'm like,
it's
but God is real, right? And he's like, yeah, but what's the point? Everyone else is not going to make it. And I'm like, you're gonna need to not think that way. You
uh-huh.
know, understand that it's not like that. God makes it fair for everybody.
You know,
What
and
we
I'll tell you what, Steve.
does,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
yeah, like what we understand in our head is just a small part of it. God understands the whole picture and knows what people will do.
Absolutely.
So the poor guy, man.
And I was kind of like that on Saturday, and probably Saturday evening or Sunday morning. I just got away from watching the doom and gloom. It was
Yeah.
sunny. I went and got my camper out the backyard and just did some things that I normally would have done. And it's like the peace that came over me. Because if you sit there and all you do is watch anything on the news or the doom and gloom on YouTube, I mean, it will bring you down quick. But once you don't focus on the fear and just live your life, but be prepared, but be ready. I mean, you got to be knowledgeable. You can't not do that. But as long as you don't let that consume you, it brings so much peace to your body. It's unbelievable.
Maybe I'll do that one day. Just Well, it's hard now with everything locked down.
Right, right. I mean, I didn't leave my yard, but I mean, we get a lot of snow here, so to
Oh,
get to my
still,
camper, where it's behind in my backyard, and my backyard's got a gate. I'm fenced in. So on Saturday, it was nice enough, but a little bit too much snow yet to be able to open my gate, or if I did, to get to where the road meets my yard. So I took my snowblower out. It's like 45 degrees and sunny, okay? And I'm snow blowing my yard. So all of a sudden, all my neighbors, they all nosy Nellies start. All of a sudden, everybody had to walk their dog. Like, what's this crazy guy doing? Because I'm snow blowing. You know what I'm saying? So I got that my fence cleared away. I got in the front of where my yard meets the road. I got that cleared away. And then of course, because I wanted to do it before the frost comes up,
yeah.
okay? Because otherwise, I'm gonna put big, huge divots all through my yard. So the next morning I got up, it's nice and cold, everything's frozen, opened up the fence, hooked up, got it. And I mean, I did more damage with my snowblower, the tire spinning on the grass, than I did hauling that camper out with the truck. So it worked perfect. It was a good plan.
It's good, man. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah.
Well, like what's weird to me is it's like once you discover something is not true, right? It's something for sure. It like you uncover one of these conspiracies and you're like, oh wow, this really is the way they're saying. Like
Hmm.
like this is a conspiracy. This is a lie, right? Then you start going, well, what about this thing, right? Is a lie, right? And you start uncovering things, right? To the point where you're like, wow, it is everything. Almost to the point where if they say on the news, like this ball is red and it's nothing to be afraid of, right? I'm like, oh, it's blue and we should be scared, man. You know,
Right.
and it's like everything is not true. And you're like, I wonder if if they can control the weather. And so like it's like they can control the weather, they can control the wars, if there really is wars. I mean, they can say the world is round when it's really flat. It, right? And it's like really it's everything we were taught as kids, right? With base knowledge of what the world is all wrong, right? So you have to let go of all of that stuff, right? And it's so hard to let go of, like, deep uh early childhood values, that you've learned. And
Yeah,
really it comes down to, we don't know how many of us there really are. We don't know how many of us on earth are people and how many of us aren't people. Maybe we all are, maybe some of us are, we're not the same. And then you like, if you let it all go, and you just read the Bible with complete abandon of what everything you were taught, right? I mean, we are divine beings, and there's very few of us that make it, that are created to last forever, to be with God.
right.
That is heavy stuff, man.
This
Because
whole,
yeah,
no, I was gonna say this whole thing about if there were really the world wars and all that stuff. Now that is one thing that I don't think I'm gonna really look into because I have a hard time believing like World War II didn't happen, Pearl Harbor didn't happen because there's just from what all I guess just from what I've been told, there's just so many people that witnessed it and lived through that.
that's right.
It's
Yeah,
hard for that to
yeah,
I mean the Titanic being sunk, of course no one would have seen that.
right.
And if the people who did survive, they don't know if it hit an iceberg or got hit by a torpedo because they're just being told what happened. So like, yeah, an iceberg hit it. I mean, but
Yeah,
no one knew. I mean, you can get away with that. But I don't know how you get away with a world war. I mean, the reasons why we were there may be all lies.
well, what I
But
was
let's face it, Steve. Let me just finish one point here. This
um,
whole thing too could be when you look at the Battle of Armageddon. You got the East gearing up to fight the West. And they're, so the East against the West, they're all coming. So this may be, maybe we are that much at enemies with the East, the China who wants to take over and stuff. Maybe they really aren't our friends. And, maybe this is starting to gather to the Valley of Megiddo. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, could be,
Because I mean,
could
I
be.
keep thinking this is all the world leaders are together on this. Well, maybe half are on one side and half are on the other. Like half are Republican, and half are Democrat in this country. I mean, maybe we do have that big east uh, of the part of the world versus the west part of the world going on right now. I mean, I don't know, but it kind of makes sense.
It's the thing that I was thinking that wars were, right? Because I was in the army. It felt real to me,
Hmm.
Of course, I was in during wartime, and I didn't deploy. So I only knew only of one person that died that was in my unit, and he died. He got run over by a truck doing um, traffic. What do you call it? Traffic. You know, I
Yeah,
forget what the.
like
Yeah,
traffic
yeah,
stop, yeah,
yeah.
border, like
He's doing in Iraq, and he got run over by a deuce and a half or a 5 ton. And so
it was a
I know
friendly.
that. Yeah, I know that's a real death, but it wasn't in action. So I don't
Yeah,
know, right? It feels real to me. We're all training hard. I mean, I know that. And so here's the thing, right? Is I was thinking that you have a certain percentage of the population, right, that are like heroic, people that will jump in front of you to take a bullet, people
right.
that will fight when other people can't fight, and what I thought it was like, okay, well, you have that Civil War we had, and then you had that Spanish American War, then you had World War I and World War II, which is, I thought, was, to get rid of those people, those heroic type people. And you do it with like 4 wars in a row. Every generation gets hit with a war, and then you do Korea, and then you do
Nah,
right. And what I thought was, at 1900 around, that's when they started teaching that, oh, we've known it was a ball for 2,000 years or whatever, but they really just started it in the last 100 years, because they knew that they were close to getting air travel, and once you
right.
fly up, and the the earth doesn't spin beneath you, right, you're gonna know. So they form NASA, then they form well, they had NACA, and then they had NASA. First it was the aviation or whatever, then it was
Right.
the air force. and then they formed DARPA right after that, you know. And so they knew that they're going to have to come up with some crazy theories as to what, you know, gravity was and what the motion of the earth was. So then, you know, Einstein comes along with relativity. Oh, well, we're only moving, you know, relative to another object, you know. It's like we don't know if we're spinning or if that's spinning, but one of us is spinning, you know. And so like there's all these kind of radical ideas of what physics are, you know, and you're like, wow, they really changed a lot. And like from World War I to World War II, they changed their whole position on physics, you know.
Right.
And I think it's because you know we went from, you know, barely getting an airplane off the ground in like you know the early 1900s, right, to jet aircraft in 1950, you know,
Right. And
and
the Germans had it 10 years before us.
right, 42, right,
Yeah,
and so
them guys were geniuses.
my God,
Because
unbelievable. I mean,
I think they were really, really close to the fallen angels.
absolutely. They went to Antarctica all the time, and
Right.
that's if you
With
believe
them
in the
subs. Yes. With the
and
U-2s, right?
if you believe in the firmament, right? Well, that's where the firmament will come down, right? And so that's where either they're locked up or whatever, because in Enoch, they were sentenced to 70 generations of being locked up to be released for the last days.
Yeah, and but not all fallen angels are locked up.
Only 200.
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, according to Enoch. Yep.
Azazel and Gadrael
Yep.
and all of them. Yeah.
Yep.
And so like you wonder like or I wonder, right, if like you know, is that when they were released? Because Rob Skiba made a pretty good argument for okay, 70 generations from the Book of Enoch, all the way until about the you know 19 end of 1900s is when they would have been released, right? And then you got all this Aleister Crowley and all these other evil people, right, coming up like oh, opening gates and portals and all this crap, right? Well, I mean, it all kind of lines up, right? Like, yeah, that stuff sounds a little far-fetched, right, for what we know from our base knowledge that we were taught. But if you go by the Bible, this all makes sense that this is happening. We go from
Absolutely.
horse to flying a jet aircraft, you know, and those are real things that we could really witness, you know.
Right. Well, you figure. I mean, you can go back. I mean, thousands of years. You know, and they already had. I mean, they had the wheel. They had chariots. I mean, that's way way back before the flood. You know, and you figure from that point until now, and then like you say, I mean, almost 6,000 years of history that we know of. You know how we perceive it, anyways. There wasn't anything, and then like you say, early 1900s, late 1800s to now, the technology is unbelievably exploded.
Yeah.
You know, I
I mean,
mean,
if
and none of it's good.
time no way, no way. And I think like that's why I think that like because I never understood like Amish people and these Mennonites. I'm like, oh man, why are they like that? You know, maybe they saw what was happening and they said, no, we're gonna cut our deal right now. You just leave us alone on this land, and you guys can do whatever you want with that technology. You know, but we
Hmm.
don't want part of it, right? And so who knows? Who knows? That's speculation, right? But then you're like, you know, we had nothing, and then all of a sudden we had a bunch of stuff, and then the television, the radio, you know, all these things were invented, and it just seems like we got more and more indoctrinated, you know, more and more indoctrinated. And when somebody would come up with something like, oh, well, we found an animal in Australia that only lives in Australia and has never been anywhere else, right? We're like, oh,
Hmm.
well, then that means that the art couldn't be true then. Instead of at that point saying, oh, wait, that has to be a lie because then it would make the ark impossible, you know? So people
Right.
went the other way somehow. And I think it had a lot to do with there's a certain magic and a certain value in being able to tell a story and then have it like tell a message in the story, you know, like it'll teach a moral lesson or it'll teach, you know, some kind of lesson in the story. And the more entertaining it is, the more you get people to listen, you know. And while they're listening, they're hearing that other story too, you know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Just like how God knew the Bible by telling stories, right? He would be able to teach us lessons, right? Or by, just even telling about history. Like there's a certain craft in that, you know? And so
Absolutely.
and so first it was like, oh, everybody read a book. Make sure you read books so you get smart, you know? And then, oh, okay, well, all the stuff's on TV, blah blah blah. But if it's on TV, how it can't be true if it's on TV, or I need to see it on TV before I believe it, or you get those sayings, right? And then when the internet came out, people are like, oh yeah, you're really gonna believe the internet? TV's more reliable, you know? It's always it's always some kind of thing, right? Where the progressive knowledge that's less controlled is ridiculed, you know?
So
But the
yeah,
more, yeah.
what I tell
Go
people, like when I send them something, well, you get your information from YouTube. So I'll send them a video of mine that's on YouTube, and I'll tell them like, "Are you saying that isn't true?" I mean, I know it is because I took that video of me catching that monster fish, putting it back in, and praising God for it. So I know
ahead.
that's real. So why isn't the guy on there that you can see who has 200 videos of whatever he's preaching about? Why is he not real? If like if when you look, I mean, people will just say that without going look at the YouTube creators' content. I mean, when you watch someone take like, I think it wasn't, I think it was PK censored. He was showing actual footage of Denmark, either their news where they were calling a major pandemic in Denmark, okay? And then there was zero deaths in Denmark. So he's like, how is that a major pandemic when no one's even died there yet? So that's on YouTube. So if you send that to somebody, automatically it's no good because you saw it on YouTube. Well, I don't get Denmark's TV stations, unfortunately, or I would have seen it. So if I would have watched that on CNN, it would have made it legit. But because someone saw it and taped it and then put it on YouTube and put it on that where everybody, the world could see it, the truth, it's not right.
That's the crazy part of it, right? Because you're like,
Exactly.
and this is the way, like, I kind of cornered my mom this way, and I probably shouldn't have done it, like she's a Christian, and I don't question her faith or anything like that, but I was telling her, I said, Mom, I said, you know that I don't lie, right? I mean, I probably haven't told a lie in 8 years that I've been caught in, you know what I mean? Like,
You
I
ever been
mean,
caught
really,
lying?
not.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, 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 but I'm no, but I was like, you know that I'm not a liar, right? That's what I told my mom, right? And I said, you know that I'm lined up spiritually correctly, right? Or at least the way you're lined up, right? So you agree with me on that. And I said, you know that I love you, and you know that I would, you know what I mean? That I, that you know what kind of person I am. You know how other people see me, right? Because I have a lot of friends, right? I have a lot of all this fruit, right? And I'm not bragging about that at all. I'm
Oh, I
blessed,
got you.
you know.
Yeah.
But I was telling my mom, I was like, you think I'm smart? I'm not a liar. I'm lined up right spiritually, and people like me, right? I'm a nice person, right? Why would you say that I'm lying, or I'm not right, or I'm incorrect, right? But the TV is correct, right? Without even looking at what I'm showing you, right? You automatically take the other side, you know? And those people don't like you. They don't know you. They don't care about you. They do lie, right? And they aren't lined up spiritually, admittedly to what I
Right.
we are, Why would
Right.
you take their word over mine, right? That, like, I don't care if you have a different opinion. If you watch the video and you say, hey, I don't see it or whatever. Well, that's your opinion, right? And I have to respect that. But for you not to look at it and then to take the opposite opinion, that's hurtful, you know?
Right.
Hurts me.
That's
You
that's
know?
like there's that clip of Walter Cronkite. He goes back generations, okay, especially for the older generation, and they love the dude. And there's that one clip where he talks about he'd rather sit at the right hand of Satan than, and I can't remember what he's talking about, and I wish it could come to mind. I should have looked this up before I started into this. So you start telling people what a Satanist, Luciferian pig Walter Cronkite was. There's no way, and you show them that clip, and of course they'll take it out of context or whatever. But anybody in the news, they're evil. I mean, he went to Bohemian Grove. He was one of those people. You don't
Mm,
get there. You don't get on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC without being a Luciferian pig. Because
right.
the ones who run that, these people can't even concept the idea of a God. They hate God that bad,
They
but yet
hate us too.
they hate us. But and here's the thing, they hate God and don't believe in Him so much that for thousands of years they've been preparing to go to battle against Him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Knowing that.
saying? And they're bringing it, and He's coming.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is like, you know what? To them, this is where it really stuck in my mind, right? I'm like, why do these people hate us so much? You know, like they have the same choices that we have, you know. But it's just like how we have the same choices to be rich like them. We could be backbiters and screw people and probably make more money than we've made now. But like we're the type of people where like, wow, I can't just screw somebody over, you know.
Right,
It's got
right.
to them, it's just some kind of shrewd business deal that they're proud of, you know. And it is fair to do that, I guess. But I can't do it, you know, and they
Yeah,
can. I have the choice to do it, but I'm not going to. But what my point is that to them, we're the elites that need to be gotten rid of.
right.
We're the elect, you know,
Yeah.
and
There's
that's
that
the way.
scripture that talks about having, you know, what does it say, like a uneven balance or something, but an even balance is a. I'm gonna find that because I want to read that because that's really good. Let me try to find that. But you can keep talking. I'm sorry. I'll find it.
Well, no, and then like so, like I'm thinking that like they think of us as oh, there's those elites that we got to get rid of. We got to get religious people out of our, not even just religious, but we got to get people that love God out of our ranks, you know, because they're standing in the way of what we're doing here. And I always thought that the mark would be something like, you know, they'll offer some kind of like, oh, well, with our technology and gene therapy and robotics or whatever, we can offer you a way to live forever, you know, and you
Right.
would choose your eternal life. Either here's a guarantee what we could give you, or take a leap of faith and go with God. I always thought that's what the mark of the beast would be because in my mind I could never imagine anyone taking that mark, you know, and you know wanting to go to hell for, you know what I mean, just to eat, you know. I just
But the thing is, they don't think that's what's going to be the end result by taking it. But let me just read that scripture. It's Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. So yeah, being fair is
yeah,
godly. You know what I mean?
it, you know? And not only that, but like once they got a certain amount of money, right? People forget this is old money, you know.
Right,
These are born rich that we have now, you know,
right,
and that once you get your money to a certain point, right? You just rig the math to where it always trickles up. Like no matter what happens or how successful anybody is, it'll always trickle up a little at a time, you know? And
right.
so somebody made, you know, the point mathematically and it was darn close when they tried to prove it out, you know, that if you give all the money from the rich people to the poor people, the rich people will have it back in 5 years.
Really,
Yeah, like just the way that they live, right, and the way that they think, right, is
right,
what makes them rich, you know.
right.
Um,
Right. They're different. Their mindset and how they go about achieving that, and because they do it off the backs of other people, though they don't work for it, but they know how to make you work for it to give it to them. It's
right,
like back in the mining days, the people who own the mine. I mean, they own the mine, they own the bars, the restaurants, the banks, the food stores. You know,
yeah,
so no matter how much they paid you, I mean, they got it all back and then some.
exactly, and that's
You
how the
know,
world.
so yeah, I mean that was. I mean, that was quite a scam. I mean, it was designed masterfully, and that's exactly how our
Well,
governments around the world work today.
what really got me right is, you know, there's all these companies, right? There's the thousands and thousands of companies, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of different people come up with ideas and they, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't or whatever, right? But you could really hit it big. But then once I found out that like, oh well, this company is owned by that company, which is owned by that company, which all those companies is owned by this one company, and you're
Right.
like when you really follow it all up, like all the companies are owned by like six different, places, right? You're like, wow, how? I mean, you might have a mom and pop store, but like you're not going to come up with no Kmart. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
like there's only a certain level of success you could possibly reach as a normal person. You have
Right.
to be either old money from one of these elite bloodlines, right? Or you have to be a total sellout in the Freemasons at a very high level. And maybe your kids will get an advantage and you a little bit. But like all those top positions are, you know, the people in control don't want to say, oh, okay, well, we're in control now, but everyone has a chance to be in control. They want to hold on to it as much as possible.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but anyway, you want me to round us out?
Right. Well, let me read a scripture real fast first, okay? Get our scripture in for the day. This is going to be Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. We need that today.
We do.
So go ahead and round us out there, Steve, and then I'll get this up right away.
All right, this was another Raw Talk with Tom and the servant, and we'd really be interested in your comments. And if you want to come on the show, please leave a comment of what you want to talk about, and we'd like to get you on. All right. Well, anyway, have a nice day, and God bless you.
Peace out.